Let's start the story. And government is inviting corporate entities and individuals interested in setting up bauxite refineries to begin talks over the venture. The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, who announced this, says, Chebi and Awaso have enough bauxite reserves or deposits that could power a long-term refinery. Ohiminteria has more.
According to Mr. Amewu, the move forms part of efforts to add value to the mined mineral to the benefit of Ghanaians. Mr. Amewu, who announced this during a day's visit to the Ghana Bauxite Company in Awaso, also announced a similar refinery to refine 30% of Ghana's gold will be ready in November this year.
The good thing is that if you combine Chiri and then this current size that we have extensive reserve that will enable creations and formations of refinery. So I think we will call on companies that are interested to begin to talk to the government and see how we can establish a refinery that of course will benefit both the company and then the Ghanaians as a general, rather than taking it out of its current raw stage. So the way forward is going into refinery. In the gold industry, plans are far advanced to start refining 30% of the gold. I'm sure by November we should be able to execute that agreement where 30% of the Ghana's gold from those mining companies will be refined. So these are some of the things that we're doing in terms of the value addition.
Officials of Ghana Bauxite Company in 2011 began talks with government to establish a refinery. Lack of commitment from government, reliable power supply and enough tonnage of ore to feed the refinery stalled the talks. Mr. Amewu, however, wants the Ghana Bauxite Company to take advantage of the recently passed law, the Ghana Bauxite Integrated Aluminium Industry Act 2018, the legal framework to process bauxite into aluminium. From Awaso in the Western region for JoyNews, Ohiminteria reporting.
Now let's go into mainstream politics. And General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, has downplayed the recent endorsements of former President John Mahama by minority members of Parliament. Some minority members, including Dr. Clement Park, had indicated that some 94 members had appended their signatures to a form they intend to present to the former president later as an endorsement. Addressing a news conference in Accra, Mr. Esiedun Ketia said the endorsement is not a minority position. He explained that the individuals could declare their support for candidates, but should not do so in the name of any party structure.
What we heard from Parliament and a group of parliamentarians declaring, if I heard them well, they never declared the support of the parliamentary caucus. The parliamentary caucus is the structure of the party in Parliament. But individuals can declare their support one way or the other. Much the same way, apart from the parliamentary caucus, we have a women's wing, for instance. It will be offensive for anybody to declare that the women's wing of NDC supports candidate A or B. But if you are a national women's organizer or regional women's organizer, you can declare your support to anybody you want to declare your support to. And I hope this is very, very clear. We want to urge leadership of the party at all levels not to attempt to commit the structures of the party to any one candidate. The party structure will remain neutral. But if individuals want to declare their support for one candidate or the other, we don't have any issue with that. The party has taken note of some pronouncements that have gone on earlier on by people who were, shall I say, pretending to be flag bearers. And we realized that some of the utterances have not been in good taste. Now that we have officially opened the campaign, we will be monitoring. And we want to caution all those persons who want to lead this party to conduct a campaign that is decent, that is decorous in terms of the choice of language, and that is devoid of personal attacks.
Away from politics, communities in the Karachi East district of the Volta region, they lack potable drinking water. Residents currently are forced to draw water from a nearby stream, which is apparently the source of drinking water for livestock and other human beings in the area. The residents say the lack of potable water is not only affecting their health, but also affecting academic performance of their children. There's more in the next report.
A United Nations Development Program survey has shown that women in sub-Saharan African countries spend about 40 billion hours a year collecting water for various household chores. This, experts say, impacts negatively on their employment opportunities. The survey is proven in the lives of the residents of communities in Karachi East district of the Volta region. They lack potable water and therefore spend greater part of their mornings and evenings in search of clean water. During the dry season, water does not collect in the few existing boreholes in the communities. The situation forces residents, especially children, to walk long distances to draw water from a stream shared with livestock.
Because in the way
the situation is affecting us a lot. We know that animals enter the water, but we don't have a choice than to drink it. We mostly suffer from waterborne diseases.
Statistics show that even though 2.1 billion people have gained access to improved water sanitation since 1990, dwindling supply of safe drinking water continues to remain a major challenge impacting every continent. It is clear that the lack of potable water is having huge toll on the education of children in affected communities. Some pupils of the Yariga No. 2 MA Basic School shared their frustrations with JoyNews.
We walk long distances to fetch water from the stream. We sometimes return after 10 p.m. We cook and eat. There's no time to learn. We used to have 2 boreholes, but one broke down, putting pressure on the other one. The water doesn't flow sometimes. We are suffering.
For some youngsters in Yariga, construction of more boreholes that have a sustainable means of ensuring year-round flow would go a long way to ease their pain of walking long distances to fetch water, which sometimes make them miss school due to fatigue and lateness.
We go to the stream. I want them to build more boreholes.
For residents here in Yariga No. 2, a suburb of Karachi East in the Volta region, this is the alternative source of water for them. They are forced to share this water sometimes with other livestock animals like pigs. Children have to walk long distances just to reach this particular stream to fetch a bowl of water. By the time they get to school, it's either they are tired, sessions has already begun, and they lose out on a lot of things. Their call is to government so that they can make available more boreholes in the community. I am Charity Emihil Battles reporting for JoyNews, Yariga No. 2, Karachi East, Volta region.
That was a good report. But let's take you to the Central Region, where the Municipal Education Directorate in the Commander Edna Eguafu-Abri municipality is exploring alternative means of making reading fun for children. The authority says the institution of the Reading Festival is to inculcate in children the habit of reading. Speaking at the Reading Festival at Elmina, the coordinator of the Reading Innovative Program, Abnesiedu, indicated that the measure will revive the interest of basic school pupils in reading. And it's from where Kwejo Nyakon reports from.
The institution of the Reading Festival in the KEA municipality is to make reading fun rather than a task. The Reading Festival enables school children in the municipality cultivate the habit of reading through fun and games. Many of the children here do not like reading. That's according to the Municipal Directorate of Education. It is as a result of this that interventions such as the Reading Festival, coupled with other interventions from UNICEF and USAID, have been employed to help deal with the challenge. At the festival, children were taught how to read in groups and use games to read to make reading meaningful and fun. Abnesiedu is the coordinator for the project at the KEA Municipal Education Office.
We want children to know that reading is fun. It's not something that they should shy away from. They should do it at any time, wherever they find themselves. They should get to books and read. We have books that have been supplied by UNICEF and USAID. They are in the schools for the lower primary. And so they have time to read. Hitherto, we didn't really have reading books, but now there are books. And so this festival is to reveal to them that reading could be done through fun. That's what we are exhibiting now. And so the children would now go back to the schools, borrow their books home and read. And also when they come to school in their free time and during the library hours, they go to the school libraries and read.
The Greater Accra Regional Librarian, Guy Amatefu, who graced the occasion, appealed to teachers and parents to make reading fun instead of it being a task.
Generally, people see reading as a task, and therefore they find it difficult, to read. But if you let children see reading as something that is for fun, that something that can be enjoyed, you see children, coming in to read. For example, like the Reading Festival, people expect that we should have competition. No, what we rather do is we rather, introduce them to reading related, materials.
UNICEF started a reading program with the municipality in 2014 to help shore up the interest of school kids in reading. UNICEF trained teachers to teach children how to read and write very well. Currently, the USAID learning program is being carried out in the basic schools in the municipality, with children being taught how to read very well in Fanti and in English. Richard Kwejenyako, JoyNews, Elmina.
Well, before we go, a medical geographer is accusing developed countries of doing little to mitigate the effects of climate change. Professor Daniel Bo is worried attempts to reduce global temperature appears unachievable. Speaking at the first International Conference on Geography and Development 2018, Professor Bo described as selfish economic interests on the part of developed countries.
Though Professor Bo observes several agreements have been signed, their effects are yet to be felt on especially low-income countries which are worst hit. He entreated developing countries to put monitoring systems in place to reduce the health impact of climate change.
Levels of the major industrial countries to reduce the emissions and reverse the trends is low, due ultimately to their selfish economic interests. The major industrial countries must be fully committed to reducing their carbon emissions. Their industrial activities will result in the emissions only sparks of environmental injustice. Low-income countries that are worst hit by the health impacts of climate change must put in place adequate health facilities and to address the health effects of climate change. Besides, sanitation and water infrastructure facilities must improve to reduce the levels of pollution and concomitant health effects.
Current and emerging societal challenges such as food security, climate change, health, natural resources, energy, urbanization and disasters call for innovations in critical themes in geography, social and physical sciences. Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, in collaboration with the Sam Houston State University of Texas, USA, and the University of Energy and Natural Resources, Sunyane, is hosting the program. It's under the theme Climate Change and Sustainable Development. Reader in Globalization and Global Youth Work, De Montfort University, Dr. Mamoudou Salah, called for a sustainable use of the resources and strengthening of institutions. The conference seeks to share scholarly and practical ideas to tackle critical societal problems within the context of sustainable development goals. Dr. Divine Odamia Pia is head of Department of Geography and Rural Development, KNUST.
It is essential to create the platform that will afford stakeholders from industry, government, academia, and regional institutions the opportunity to review, brainstorm, and evaluate the national and sub-regional strategies, resources available, and the achievements and challenges of countries towards the Sustainable Development Goals as well as the climate change targets.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deb.
Well, that's it for the latest news update. We have more news. We will be reviewing the newspapers. Look at myjoyonline.com, the relevant online portals if we have the time. But Mama View Sabwaje, she is the woman of the moment, expert in housing in her own right, having spoken to some great experts. And Mama View, was the expedition?
Listen, I was schooled yesterday. There are so many basic mistakes that we make.
Yeah.
And I think that our series beginning today ahead of the Habitat Fair will be absolutely helpful. Either if you're still building, it's not too late because you can always involve the right people. If you're buying, I'll tell you one secret. They say always, 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 you need an architect on site to give you the thumbs up so you can go ahead and buy whatever house that you're buying. So Roland, our series would begin today, the home series on the AM show. And tomorrow, we will all be at the Achimota Mall for the first Housing Fair Clinic, the Habitat Fair 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically housing for plush areas like Sakumono, Spinters, your area, you know, Trazako, right?
Listen.
What about Fadama, Nima?
It's called variety, and I think that's what the Habitat Fair brings. It really doesn't matter where you're building, where you're buying.
Okay.
What we do is to assemble the right people. Right people to have that conversation and also to purchase the right product from. And the fair comes with huge discounts, so it's a great moment. And it's also vacation for the kids, right? So what we've done is to choose venues that can accommodate the entire family, including the children as well. And the Achimota Mall, you know the place. There's a beautiful playground, food, you know, the kids can enjoy their stay at the Achimota Mall. Tomorrow, Saturday, and then on Sunday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. But ahead of that, you have to listen to this conversation that we'll bring to you later this morning called the Home Series. I engaged 2 architects. And my first question, Roland, was, so the topic is, what kind of conversation do you need to have in deciding whether to buy a plot of land or, you know, to buy an already made house? And I was surprised during our research that we had to speak to architects. So my first question was, why do I have to talk to architects when I'm deciding whether to buy a plot of land or to build a home? And the answer, Charlie, you'll be amazed. Me, I was schooled. I was schooled proper.
Well, so you also get some great education. You get all that with that conversation Mamavi had. And please know that when it comes to housing, it's a great investment, but a good investment as well.
Yeah. All right, Roland, the last thing we're going to do before we bring the newspapers is to give you all an update of the Zimbabwe situation. We've been monitoring their elections. Thankfully, late yesterday, the Electoral Commission of that country announced the results. We're going to bring that back to you, and then when we come back, we'll sit down and look at the newspapers.
Joyce Kajembe, who superintends Mashariki West Province. That brings our
Mnangagwa Emerson Dambudzo, ZANU-PF, 2,460,463 votes, 50.8%.
The media for coming through and gracing us earlier on.
Chamisa Nelson, MDC Alliance, votes received 2,147,436, which constitutes 44.3% of the poll. We also wish to thank all of our cooperating partners for the votes received by Mnangagwa Emerson Dambudzo of ZANU-PF party are more than half the number of votes cast in the presidential election. Therefore, Mnangagwa Emerson Dambudzo of ZANU-PF party is therefore duly declared elected President of the Republic of Zimbabwe with effect from the 3rd of August 2018.